The number one thing you need as a comic creator is
その1、うぬぼれ。自分は他のやつよりできると思い込め。
Now Takagi also calls it confidence. It's so obvious yet so simple to miss. Among all these artists and creators who we feel that we have imposter syndrome or just beginners that are comparing themselves to a faraway, destination, we lie to ourselves a lot. Get cozy and grab your coffee or tea because this is just a speed paint. Honestly, starting a comic project is very terrifying for most of us. It's so scary, I don't know why. Well, actually, I know why. And that's what I want to talk about to help you start your comic. I was listening to Mel Robbins and she helped a lot because she explained that the reason why it's so hard and why we tell lies to ourselves, even though we want to make that comic, is that our brains are designed to protect us because we have a habit of hesitating, and when we hesitate before starting our dreams or very big projects, our brain does the spotlight effect and it starts to focus on everything that is going wrong or everything that's scary, and it makes it so much bigger in your head, and it blinds you, it literally blinds you from what you need to do, which is actually get started with a comic and take action. There's lots of information in Google and YouTube and TikTok and everything, and yet we don't do it because we're seeing all the problems. We're seeing all the disadvantages we have instead of the advantages and the strengths we have, and we're comparing to other artists that are way better than us. I have many tips for this because it's not easy to just say, oh, just get confident. I'm going to give toxic advice. That's how I like to call it, because you have to be careful to not abuse it. Let's say you are in a race. You are in the second place and you're always looking at the first place. And of course, it's inspiring to see someone so much ahead. You see how far you can go. It's very cool. How about you are looking at the third place and you can see the third place strengths and weaknesses, and you can see how far ahead from them you are. That doesn't mean that you're going to feel superior because, again, I think this is too much pride. It just means that in some aspect you are better than them because you've been practicing better or practicing longer. Whatever it is, you can see your strengths and weaknesses, not just the weaknesses part. Feel proud of how long you've come, and even if you haven't started your project, you're like researching, you're finally watching videos about this, you're doing everything you can to set your mind to finally do it. Bakuman is probably my favorite manga. It literally changed my life. If you recognize the art style, it's the same team that made Death Note. Written by Tsukumi Oba and illustrated by Takeshi Obata. It's about a writer and an artist that team up to make manga, and they work really well together. The two guys start creating manga under the pen name Mutu Ashirogi in hopes of getting serialized in Weekly Shonen Jump. I don't know if these guys know how to write girls, but other than that, it's great. I love it so much. Well, both kids are 15 years old, which is a very important context. When they reach this Discovery's conclusion in episode 4 in the anime, it's also when they decide to go to a lower level school. Because they are like, we're going to make this and it's going to happen. I remember that when I was in university, I followed this advice and it worked back then. I was being a little mediocre in university, like just enough to keep my scholarship, and I also had the support of a couple of friends. They basically did some things that were complicated for me, and I did things that were easier for me than for them. And I used all the time that I could to work on my comics and the YouTube channel. Not in the smartest way maybe, but I did it. It was great. It was amazing. And I accomplished the dream of becoming a freelance comic artist. No matter how I ended up, the point is, by me freeing so much time by prioritizing the plan A, that's how I got it. Again, they are 15 and I was young and supported by my parents back then. If your story is not like them, which most of us is not, things always happen. Life is unpredictable and not everyone is as privileged as me that I could afford not to really work while in university, and I was using all my time for comics. Now, the story of they go almost full-time as students in this, it's super cool. However, if you're like me and something happened in your life and now you feel like it's late and you're quote unquote old, I want to tell you a little bit about Jeff Koons. I'm stealing this from another artist. I'm going to link his channel down below if I find it. Jeff Koons is a very famous artist. You probably know at least about his balloons stuff. He didn't start with money. He worked in a normal job for like 10 years to then have the money to make his exhibitions, his art exhibitions. So if it helps to compare yourself to him, that's great, because sometimes we compare ourselves to people that have a life that's too different to us. And sometimes our brain won us over and we believed the lies that it was telling us, that we were telling ourselves. And yes, we have to be responsible for that. But now it's a new start. Now, even if you lost some years or whatever story you've had, it's never too late to start. So I'm going to quote Mel Robbins about the hovers thing, because I was like, okay, yeah, great. I have to be confident. I am confident when I remember to be confident, because sometimes I forget and I fall back into old patterns of thought. And I think many artists are like me in that regard. But she said something that I love. Confidence follows courage. So basically, you develop confidence in something you feel competent in, right? Or at least competent enough. And you're going to feel competent enough the more you do it. And at first, you're going to be scared because it's not going to look like what you have in your head. Not yet anyway. And you have to accept you're a beginner. You have to accept it's going to take a long time. You're going to have to accept that you need patience. But the point is that if you step into the ring, you do the thing even if you're scared, the more confident you will feel. Recognize with objectivity your strengths and weaknesses. You have both. Not only weaknesses, not only flaws. Why are you just looking at those? Think about everything you have learned. Maybe you have learned how to not sabotage yourself any further and how to finally start, which is searching advice from people that have done it. That's already the first step, to stop hesitating and go for it. Even though this may seem part of the hesitating part, oh, I'm just watching a YouTube video, I'm not actually starting the comic. Hopefully, you take it as part of the, how do you call this? The Zeigarnik effect? Something that started, and if you leave it unfinished, you will remember more easily if you do it hopefully every day. Like if this is in your mind, it's because you're close to starting, and hopefully you start after this video or sooner. Number 2, effort. This is too obvious, I guess. But if you're looking forward to start a comic or a project similar to that, congratulations. Do you know how many people in the world talk about starting their projects or doing a habit of writing, drawing, whatever it is, and they just don't do it? Life is hard, and I'm going to make videos about that because I'm the expert, I'm the queen of self-sabotage. So I know what it's like to have time and not do the thing that I want to do. So scared that I believe that the lies I tell myself, also with the help of life, of course. But if you're looking to start a comic or any project like that, you're crazy. You're a very interesting person in my eyes. I think any person that's like you, they are going to think that as well. Hopefully you feel this way about yourself. Like, even if your comic, even if your project is a mess and you don't like it at the beginning, you are a person that has the courage to do it. That's already a super cool result. It helps with your identity, with your confidence, and you can make more projects and more things. And you're already a creator. You are amazing. Number 3.
最後
Look, I know. I don't know your situation, but I do know that there are things that are outside of our control. I'm not going to sit here telling you to do your comic if you're picking up your home after a hurricane or something. Doing our dreams is very important, but of course, there are other things that are very important as well. Also, if you get a disease, maybe you have to change your dreams, and I know it's super hard. However, regarding the things we can control, if you're listening to this video and if you're able to do it. So I'm going to talk about habits you can do even if you have a busy life. However, take into account, I don't know your situation. So this is not me preaching. This is just advice if you can take it. And if you cannot, that's okay. Okay, on one hand, it's just like working out. If you just do half an hour every day, that's already amazing. And if you wake up like half an hour earlier or you go to bed half an hour later, you already have your half an hour to do your comic. Even if you don't do much in that half an hour, the fact that you're doing it every day, it's going to end up being a lot of hours in a year. It may seem like it's not worth it, like it's just half an hour. But again, going back to the Zeigarnik effect, you're opening a task in your mind and doing it every day, having it in your mind every day, and you will find ways. Bakuman is great and I love it. I think that if you're very young, maybe you can go this path and do using social media and being smart. However, let me be clear. I have seen a lot of videos, and maybe it's even going to be my own story, where we take a long time to maybe work on our dreams. In my case, I can blame my disease, but but also I have had the whole of 2024 and I have not done nearly enough for what I want to do. I have been working, yes, just not maybe in the smartest way. And one of the reasons was me not trusting my dream, me not trusting myself, not enough at least. Even though I had already done it, it's so easy to grow scared again. So I really recommend, of course, you have to be your own cheerleader, but if your brain is yelling at you and saying very mean things to you, that's not helpful. So I use motivational videos, I make myself draw, and meanwhile I'm listening to positive talk, and then I have it on myself once I do the habit. But sometimes, you have the habit of hesitation, you have the habit to talk very mean words to yourself. That's going to sabotage your journey. And it doesn't matter if you're 50 years old, 60, whatever age you are. Shut up. Even though I myself, I have felt this way. I'm not saying this because I have it all figured out. I'm saying this because right now, thank goodness, I have the habit to work on my comic again. I wake up very early, I draw, then I work out, and then my day starts. For everything else, for work, for everything that I don't want to do. But the most important thing is done. Maybe we're not confident about something we're not good at. Okay, let's take the steps to get better. And congratulate yourself for taking those steps. I haven't been lazy this year, but sometimes I have felt that way because I have prioritized things because I was not confident in my own path. Because again, I always prioritize plan B. I always prioritize plan C before plan A, which is being an artist. And maybe it's a little late for me. I have to pay the bills, of course. I have to go back to the office and I may switch jobs. But I'm never going to, I'm promising myself to not make this mistake again. I'm going to continue my habit of working out and before that, making the comic. And even if I cannot do everything else, those things are the first things I'm going to do every morning. If you're an evening type of person, well, then that's where you put your doing your comic work. Hopefully tied to each other with habits. You can find a way. Mainly, you have to trust yourself. You have to believe it's possible to find the way. And I'm so passionate about this because I can't believe that I forgot this. I had to learn it when I was starting the comics for the first time in 2017. And now I'm relearning everything again in 2024. What? But the good thing is that hopefully this helps someone else. Give it a thumbs up and thanks for your patience listening. Good luck with everything. You're amazing for wanting to create something in the world.